Paula Vogel's new work, Mother Play, offers an unflinching look at her own family. Celia Keenan-Bolger plays a version of Vogel in the play, which was nominated for 4 Tony Awards. I sat down with them both on stage at the Hayes Theater. Well, first of all, congratulations on all of your Tony nominations for the play and for the cast. It does mean a lot when everyone gets nominated. It means you wrote 3 great parts.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it. To me, it means that we somehow or other managed to get 3 great actors.
That's right.
That's how I celebrate, knowing every day that they're stepping on stage. I celebrate. It's such an honor.
Tell me what the germinal idea was for this play.
The germinal idea was, how do I say, hi, Mom, on stage after all of this time? How do I try to capture her? How do I work my way back to love? And so it's been in my head for a very long time. And I'm now hearing from people who have, like me in their childhood, packed up every couple of months the household belongings to move to the next place. I knew it had to have boxes. I knew it had to be about moving. It's actually true that I did work for a moving van company. And if you ever need help moving, call me.
Paula Vogel.
So that's where it started. And actually, as soon as I started thinking about it, I've been such a huge fan of Celia's for so very long a time that I thought, gee, I wonder if she'd do this. So I wrote in the role of narrator, which in some ways is me. And I think I told you like 15 years ago that I'm working on a play and I'd like you to read it. And so that's the miracle to me. She said yes. And I heard her voice while I was writing it.
Well, that is a miracle, Celia, to have someone as accomplished as Paula Vogel thinking about your voice while she's writing her play.
I cannot even, yeah. It's both like this enormous honor, but also like a massive responsibility. As I'm like out in this season, the number of people, the first thing everybody says is, I love Paula Vogel. And I'm like, take a number.
All do.
Yes.
We all do.
And this feeling of not only getting to be a part of a new play that she has written, but also to have such proximity to her family, to the sort of inner workings of how this all went down in her childhood. Like, it truly feels like one of the great gifts of my creative life.
This woman knows how to write plays on stage. And this is what you want to do as a writer. You want to get really good, spiritually blessed people, so no damage is done, so that the process feels wonderful, hard but wonderful. And then you want to get actors who have all of the dramaturgy in their heads of any other writer, so that they realize they're crafting the play. And that's what I feel when I see you on stage. So to get that ×3 is the very best, premiere of a new play I can get.
You have such co-stars to work with on this stage.
Mm-hmm.
And you're playing, it feels like. You're in a play, but you're playing on stage. You can feel it's very alive.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about working with Jim Parsons and Jessica Lange.
I don't know that I have ever depended, and maybe it's because there are only 3 of us, but I depend on the 2 of them so much. And I think if you do a show 8 times a week, you have these expectations, like these little tent poles that you're like, emotionally, I'm sort of here and here and here. And on certain nights, if you're not there, previously in my life, I think I would have been like, well, you better get it together and start getting yourself ramped up. And I think it comes from both of them that I'm like, the only place you need to be is exactly where you are. And if you check in with them, you will find your way to where you need to be. And that is a completely new experience for me. And I think it has to do with how deeply present and alive both of them are to be on stage with.
And this play, it's a memory play. You've done several memory plays on Broadway with To Kill a Mockingbird and Glass Menagerie. Why do you think that kind of material appeals to you?
I think memory plays, whether or not they are the memory of your family or of your experience, it is so easy to find yourself inside of a play where people are remembering things. And I think that that is very appealing to me. The number of people that have come to see this play that are like, this is not my family. And somehow I was deep inside of my family while I watched it, I think is sort of the magic trick of what Paula does. And also maybe the magic trick of what a memory play does, is that if it's good enough, even if it isn't resonant specifically, it does start to work on you in a way that really helps you reflect on your own experience.
And this play is interesting to me because it's you saying, "Hi, Mom," but it's an act of forgiveness and an exorcism in many ways.
Yes.
And I was thinking about all three of us have lost members of our family of origin. And I know you've talked about having conversations with the dead.
Yes.
And I feel like that's something that will resonate with everyone. And I just wanted to hear a little bit about that from both of you.
Paula said this in the rehearsal process, that this work of getting to be an artist in some ways gets you closer to the people that you have lost, and particularly when you're working on a family play. I think we all brought so much of our family of origin into the room that it's not just that I'm on stage with Jessica and Jim. I'm on stage with Susie Keenan and Andrew Keenan-Bolger and Maggie Keenan-Bolger and Carl Vogel and Paula Vogel. Like the layers that you get to then participate in all of these dynamics that feel so separate from one another are suddenly all in this like stew of what Paula has made. And so I think in some ways, I never feel closer to my mother than I do when I'm on stage. That it's like there is some channel that gets to open up where I am communing with her in a way that I can't really access in my regular life. And, you know, Paula has written that into the play with Martha and Carl, but it's like once that channel gets opened by the playwright, then all of a sudden the actors are able to sort of get inside of it, and then hopefully the audience participates in it as well.
I think my first funeral that I attended was of my Jewish grandfather. And what I remember was my grandmother keening on the sofa, and then she'd lift her head and say, "We need more bagels." And then she would keen, and then she would crack a joke, and we'd be on the floor. And I remember thinking, this is one of the most fun experience I've ever had in my life. So something in her act, the rabbi came and said, "What were your husband's favorite words?" And she said a vulgar Yiddishism. And the rabbi said, I beg your pardon? She said, "Those were his favorite words." And again, we started dissolving in laughter. So I think from that early age, I learned that if we can look pain directly in the eye and experience together, we're fearful of that. We back away, we repress it. But the moment you manage together to look at pain and feel it, it frees the laughter. It frees a life force, an energy in which you can feel the spirit of our ancestor in the room. You know, I've lived past the ages of my mother and my father. I've long lived past the age of Carl. But I know that, you know, it's a blink of time before I join them. And instead of that being scary, it's actually freeing. So I'm here now thinking, I've got to tell them from the stage how much I love them, how much they're still there, and when I get a last chance to share them with younger generations who never got the chance to know my brother.
I think when people think about this play, they think about the dysfunction of the family, and they might think about forgiveness or some of the things we've touched on. But what I'm not hearing that much is this is a play about a mother with 2 gay children. And Celia, you know something about that,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering if you discussed this work with your siblings.
Well, I certainly did. And I certainly even said to them, do you think it's acceptable for me to play this part on Broadway? Because obviously the number of lesbian roles, particularly in like Broadway characters, there is a lack. And so is it okay for me to step into that, first of all? Obviously, I think also because I was 7 years older than my siblings and my family was very different, but I do think that dynamic of watching 2 gay siblings grow up and feeling quite honestly a little bit on the outside, and that I was like, God, they really have their own language and like things that they would hold on to or get excited about that I was like, I don't really understand what this is, that I feel that that's so written into the characters of Martha and Carl. My brother came last night and was beside himself, and it was very meaningful to me, but that he just said, I have never seen that on stage before. So for it to be represented on a Broadway stage, I also think just brings a kind of visibility that feels very important to reflect the culture.
Paula, you are like the godmother of all of this generation of playwrights. And with the Tony nominations, you are colleagues with
Yes.
a lot of playwrights of a newer generation. And as a longtime teacher and mentor, how does that make you feel to see this new generation of playwrights coming up on Broadway with
I'm
new
thrilled.
work?
I'm absolutely thrilled. This year feels completely different to me. To be able to rub elbows with Amy Herzog and David Adjemi, two writers I've loved for a very long time. One of my favorite writers in the world is Brandon Jacob Jenkins. To see the work he did on Appropriate, which I've taught, we can just go through the list of these incredible writers. So I feel fantastic. And I have to say to everybody, please go out and see a new play. And I know that for Jessica, I am so honored that she did this, that I'm the first writer she's worked with that's alive on stage. God, Jessica, please, let me give you a list of writers. Please
Everybody
come
wants
back.
Jessica Lange in their play. Why not?
Everybody should have Jessica Lange in their play.